Now, I know, looking at your website, I ran across where you had spoke to a women's basketball team. They were coming in like fifth and sixth place,
And they
and
won. They won the national
they
the
slam dunked it,
national
didn't they?
freaking championship. They smoked it, dude.
I'm telling you, that's great. So you obviously touched those people a great deal to motivate them.
Yeah, unfortunately, I wasn't arrested. No. Hello.
As a positive person, do you ever find there are times that you get down?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely, man. I mean, look, I'm not going to lie to you. People, you get these panels with folks with disabilities, and they say, I never change it for the world. It's part of me. And I'm like, okay, you're lying. Because I'm sorry, but we can't live this way. You're not going to be able to change it, okay? But if I could, of course I would. There's a huge, I call it PETA factor. Pain in the, and it is. Having a disability, there's a physical pain in the butt. It's hard to do. Getting in the chair, flying, going all over,
A lot of challenges.
checking into hotels. But now what I do is I survey the land. I see who's there to help. I can read a person in a heartbeat and see if they're going to help me or not. I know who to stay away from, and sure, I get down. But somehow my mother raised a kid to be able to look in the mirror and like what he saw, despite what was happening, from here down. Because your body's going to break down. You feel it now. You're not doing
Are you psychic or something?
No, psycho.
Psycho?
There's
Okay.
a difference.
Well,
I'm an idiot.
going back to your mother, you mentioned your mother. I was going to ask you who you feel was most inspirational to you to put you on the right path of being positive and adapting to change. Was that your mother? Or
Morton Downey Jr.
Morton?
No.
The mouth.
No. No one listening, no one's watching you to know who that is.
Morton who?
He was a guy in the 80s that did a talk show, and he was
Yeah.
really annoying.
They called him the mouth.
They called him the mouth, and he just, anyway.
Yeah.
Both parents.
Ah.
My father was a merchant marine, raised in World War II. As a kid, saw people kill his neighbors, Nazis, and it was bad. He was moved to the northern sector of the Netherlands. He became a merchant marine, sailed the world, and met this girl when she was 15, and said, "I'm going to take you to America." It's a really cool story. It's like Cinderella Man. He's got this mother who wasn't his blood relative, who took him in off the street during the war when his parents were killed, and he brought her to America with his family, 2 daughters.
Ah.
So he's got this dream of a new tomorrow and this world he's going to embrace. And the first thing they get is a son with a disability. Right. And I said, was it a chip in your armor? And he said, yeah, a little bit. He said, but it's kind of like we were planning for a trip to England and we landed in Germany. You just got to adapt and you move with it. You're still my son and you can't kick a soccer ball, but neither can I. So we're going to do the best we can. And they raised me that way. And, they call it motivational speaking, but anyone who listens to you will tell you it borderlines an hour of stand-up comedy to, it is inspirational, but it's insightful. Even though it's my market, I have a hard time with motivational speaking.
Really? Hard to believe.
Anthony, if you need me to really motivate you, we've got a problem.
Well, some people do, I think.
I'm not dissing what I do. I see it's important, but, I just like to share my stories.
Well, what if, somebody comes up to you, who's in a wheelchair, which, you've obviously had happen before, and what do you tell them, if they're down and they're like, how did you become so positive? What do I need to do to change? I don't see any hope for myself. They have that negativity.
Amway.
Amway. Join Amway.
Sorry.
That can't be your answer.
No, it's not. And I'm not, don't send me any hate mail. I'm just being funny. If they ask,
Have you had anybody ask that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just today.
Just today.
Just today.
Wow.
So, here, let's talk. I've had high school kids say, I need to talk to you. I want to kill myself, you know. And so we pull them aside and get them counseling and, you know, help them out. I get emails from people, you know, how come you're so happy? This is what's happening to me. And my response is, that is overwhelming. That's valid. The things you're going through are tough. However, whether you're positive about it or negative about it, you're still going to go through that. You can't avoid going through it. If you avoid going through it, you're just going to make it worse. Go through it, get it done. And well, look, the fact that you were given one day on this earth extra, okay, I truly believe we're here for a reason. I really do. Look at all the cool stuff that we're doing for people. You know what I mean? It's people, it's kids, and you know, I believe in it. So yes, I am motivational.
Yeah. See?
So I just contradicted myself.
Exactly.
But you know my point. You see my point.
I understand your point.
You know.
You know, I've seen you work with a lot of kids on your YouTube videos. You know, where some of the kids and they've asked you some funny things. You know, out of the mouth of babes, I guess, as they say.
So
you know,
I know what you're going to ask, and I'm just going to step right in. So I'm doing a gig up at a school, and I'll tell you two quick stories. Same school.
Right.
The kid raises his hand. We're in the middle of the speech, and he goes, "Yeah, I read your book. It's not that good." He goes, "You mind if I leave? Because this is just a real waste of my time." And I was like, "That's impressive." So I let him go. I'm like, "Sure, go, leave," you know. And then same day, speaking to a bunch of fifth graders, and I said, it was right before Thanksgiving last year. I said, "Kids, what are you gonna do for Thanksgiving? It's my favorite holiday. I'm so excited. What are you gonna do?" And this little girl raises her hand. She goes, "We're gonna drive to New Jersey with my grandma and my mom, or my dad and my brothers, but my mom has to stay home because she has to figure out if she wants to be with my dad or my uncle." And I'm like, whoa.
Well,
So yeah, there you go.
What inspired you to become a motivational speaker?
Emotionally
wreck.
Emotional wreck. You know, I was in college. I was talking to a group of kids, and I was a sophomore in college. The professor pulled me aside. I was at Hope College in Holland, Michigan, and after the speech, and she said, "If the president was in this room of the college, I'd be fired." That was the most offensive 1 hour I've ever seen in my life. She goes, some people enjoyed it, but most people didn't know what to think. And she goes, "You know what? I've never seen more talent in my whole life." She goes, "You're brilliant. The way you work the crowd." And I'm like, "Thanks." She's like, "You have a choice. You can go to Hollywood. You can become a comic like Sam Kinison, who was my hero back then."
He was a great guy.
He was. He was a great guy.
Very funny, very funny.
And a good guy. And she said, "Or you can start telling your story and helping people." She goes, "So what I'd like to do is I'd like to help you decide." And she developed an independent study where I spoke at 25 schools. And we went school to school. We had outcome questions, and we talked to kids of all ages. And that's how I started speaking. And I taught in between. I taught high school in between. And then when I was in the hospital for surgery, I got denied a wheelchair by my insurance company.
Oh, you're kidding.
And so I started a charity just buying wheelchairs called Alternatives in Motion. And we're one of the largest charities in the country that buys wheelchairs for people who don't have health insurance.
That's
So
great.
that's what I do.
And you're doing a fine job.
It's a hoot.
It's a hoot.
As are you.
Now,